Grasse, and this is the AI Branding Podcast where we talk everything branding, marketing, content, and AI. Today I have Atandra Jones, and we're discussing basically why AI and automation could actually improve your life substantially simply by getting rid of the junk you shouldn't be doing, which we call robot work here at the Academy. So welcome, Atandra.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be hanging out with you this afternoon.
Yes, no, and the subject matter is fantastic. I think that's, it's so easy for people to go negative about AI, like, oh, it's going to take away all the jobs. To that, I always say, like, you know what? You hate your job. We literally make funny shows and movies about how much we hate this job. So why don't we just stop doing that stuff and start working on something fun? So how do you do that?
Wow. I have, so the first thing I do is I prioritize. I'm really, really big on prioritizing. What is really important? And there's a difference between things that keep me busy and things that are actually really important.
Mm.
So, for example, keeping up with what is going on in AI in my industry, right? It's something that could keep me busy. It could take a lot of time. There's a lot of research associated with that. But in the context of what it takes to actually move the business forward or to save me time or give me my time back, it's not going to be on the highest level of importance, right? So that's definitely something that I would prefer to be automated. And, now that we have so many AI tools available that you can work with, that you can train, it gives me the opportunity to basically clone myself in AI form, if you will, or in AI agent form, if that makes sense, so that I can focus on the things I really care about.
I love that. Now, when you're going through this process of kind of identifying those, tasks that you could automate, do you have an order that you do it in? Is it like, oh, this is the easiest task to automate, so I'm going to start there? Or do you go with like the hardest there and most time consuming thing?
Yeah, so I like quick wins, right? Because I feel like, quick wins give you that encouragement to keep going, right? And so I typically will start off with the things that are the easiest. What are the easiest things for me to get off my plate? And what ends up happening is I start with the easiest things and then I end up learning so much along the way. So that when I get to the more complicated things, I've gotten so many lessons, I've played with so many tools, I've done so many different things that it's still complicated, but it's not as complicated as I think it would have been if I had started with that one first.
That's a good point. Now, with that said, what kind of qualifies as like an easy thing? Is it like cleaning your email box or processing data? Like what's an easy task?
So easy task for me, something that I consider to be easy to automate would be like, for example, research.
Hmm.
That's really easy to automate, right? Find the tool. These are the things that I want. Send me an email with a recap every Monday at 9 a.m. so that I can go through those things. That's something that's really easy. Things like, making lead magnets. I need to create a lead magnet for this new program that we have coming in. Those things are easy. And I think what makes some of those tasks easy is that we have so much experience doing them. We have so much data behind them. And so we already have so much to train the model on that's readily available, easily available, quickly available. And so we can get that into those models and get those models trained and create those agents very quickly. And so it's not as time consuming.
Oh, I love that. Now, so if I was going to say like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to find the tasks that I can automate would be best. Cause we did this in management all the time. Like, okay, just write everything that you did today. Just write it all down, how long it took, and then you could kind of see it. Do you recommend that or can you automate the process?
Here's what I recommend, honestly. Sit down and write a list of all the things you hate doing
Mm,
and be
that's,
honest.
yeah.
Be honest. Because I think what happens is it takes a certain type of person to be in business. It takes a certain level of discipline. It takes a certain level of courage. It takes it takes a certain level of person to be in business. And so because of that, we can easily get accustomed to, I do this because I'm disciplined enough to do this. I do this because this is what business owners do. I do this because this is the nature of the beast. And the reality is the more when you do things that you hate doing, it's not about whether or not you can do them. You're a business owner. You started the business. You created all the processes. Obviously, you can do them. So it's not a matter of proving whether or not you can do them. And it's not a matter of proving whether or not you're disciplined enough or you're courageous enough to do those things because I'm not a lazy business owner. It boils down to every second that I spend doing things in my business I don't like doing. That's emotional brain space, that's psychological brain space, that's energy that's being taken away. And so, a lot of business owners develop this idea that, I'm gonna, what is that concept where I think is it called eat the frog, where
Hmm.
you do like the biggest thing that you don't want to do first? And from a discipline standpoint, that sounds really good and it sounds really efficient. But by the time you've used up the emotional brain space because you hate doing this thing, and now it's time for you to do the thing that you really want to do, you almost don't really have the energy to really be your best at that thing. And so I would advise, writing down all of the things that you hate doing, just being honest, and then figuring out, okay, where in that, if I write out these processes, I understand that there's got to be a human in the loop somewhere. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But how much of this can I automate so that if I have to be the human in the loop, I'm just going in and I'm checking and I'm verifying, and then the process can continue. Or I can hire someone to go in and check and verify, and then the process can continue. So that's how I would suggest doing that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, because I would have been I described the way I would have done, like, let me write down everything I do every day. But yeah, just focusing on like the instant win of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to process that thing that I hate doing. And I love your talk about the energy that goes into it, because there's always a cost, whether it's a physical energy, because I think that's how we always default. We're just like,
Yeah.
well, I have enough physical energy to get it done, rather than, oh, you just drained your happiness scale by 50% and now you're not going to do a great job, or you're not going to make those phone calls you finally have time to do because now you're exhausted. So
Yeah.
no, that's fantastic. Now for actually doing the automating though, which tools do you like? Is there a certain platform that helps you automate the processes? What do you use?
Yeah. So I would say the easiest and most accessible right now is creating the custom agents in ChatGPT. It's just the easiest, it's the most accessible. I know that there are so many other models available, but when I'm looking at the models, I'm not just looking at, okay, whether or not this can do the same thing that ChatGPT can do, but if I need to connect this to other tools, how easy is this for me to connect to other tools? Because some tools are easier to connect than others. And so ChatGPT just kind of is like the starting ground. And so what I will do is I will create an agent, as much of the agent as I possibly can in ChatGPT.
Mm.
And then from there, I'll look at the process and I'll say, okay, so where can I automate the handoff from one person to another or from one tool to another? And so I'm playing with tools right now like Cassidy AI, Relevance AI, playing around with automations and things like that in Make. But I will say this, I'm going to say this because I see a lot of this on social media. And there's a lot of, look at this Zap I created and it's 198 steps. Look at this, automation I created in make.com. It's 198 steps. And so then people, they download the templates and all of these things, but that doesn't necessarily work for the process in your business. And so I think it's important to outline the entire process first. And then for us, the way I like to do things, I will build as much of it as I can in ChatGPT and then look at where I want to do the handoff from one to another and figure out what the best tool to do that is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fantastic process. And actually that's what we teach at the academy too. We're like, no, just build it. And I always talk about businesses like people, where it's like, hey, your business is just as unique as an individual person. And we all know, I was in fitness, so I'm like, no diet plan is going to work for two people, because even if it physically worked, they have different emotional needs, they have different preferences, they have different time requirements, like all these other factors come into it. And businesses with their processes are the exact same way, where one process could work perfectly for one, and then you go down the street for a business that sells the exact same thing and it's not going to work over there. So I love your kind of development process behind the automation, because it calls that into question where it's like, but honestly, it's sort of marketers' fault because it's like, oh no, the bigger the thing you sell, the more likely they are to think it's valuable, and now they're going to buy it. And now, does it work? Who cares? They already bought. And it's like, that's not good business. So, no, I love that. Now, with all the automations that you're putting together, how much time do you think you've saved on, say, before AI came along?
Oh my God. I would say at this point, I think I'm almost at, and let me say this, I am a different kind of person. So I really enjoy the work that I do. So I want to preface
Mm,
this before I say that. I really enjoy the work that I do. So the work that I do doesn't always feel like work. So I tend to spend a lot of time doing it.
mhm.
Okay. So if I were to quantify that in terms of hours, I think at this point I'm pushing on about 70 hours a month.
Wow.
70, 75 hours a month that I've saved myself so far, that I've given myself back so far.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. No, that's huge. Yeah, I always look at like individual projects where it's like, oh, a magazine. Like it used to take me 100 to 200 hours, and now it's like 20 hours because I
Yeah.
skipped a million things. And that's just project based. But I think your process, would actually save way more time, way more money, and way more of that, emotional energy that you mentioned, where it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how much am I being drained by continuing to do this stuff that I hate or that's brainless. I will say that sometimes it's difficult to even see those things where you're like, well, of course I have to process the podcast, and I'm the one that has to create the page, and I'm the one that has to post it over here and optimize the title and blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden you're spending 5 hours for something that if you automated even a little bit, it would be a lot better.
We have an amazing limited time offer that you won't want to miss. Introducing the Build Your Brand Pillars course from AI Branding Academy, your gateway to mastering both traditional branding and AI-powered marketing strategies. With this course, you'll gain invaluable skills in creating strong brand foundations that stand out in today's competitive market. Perfect for innovation leaders like you. Don't wait. Take advantage of this special offer before it's gone. Head to aibranding.academy.
Now, with that said, do you sacrifice the quality of any of the processes or say the delivery for the sake of automation? Or are you able to maintain it?
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
Absolutely not. And this is the reason why I think before you automate anything, you have to know what the process is. There's a few things that you have to consider. You have to consider the experience that you want to have with this process. If you have a team,
Hmm.
the experience that you want your team to have with this process. And if it's a customer or client facing result, what is the experience that you want your customers and your clients to have with this process? And then you have to look at the process and first find out if the process you've created meets the standard for the experience that you want to create.
Hmm.
And then you look at your tools and say, do the tools that I have supporting this process help me create the experience that I want to create? And then once you get all of those things aligned, then it's very easy to say, okay, well, where can I implement AI? Where can I, automate this? Where can I create agents to do this? Because you're very clear about the experience that you're creating. And at the point in which there's a tool or an automation that decreases the level of experience that you want to create, maybe that part doesn't need to be done by an AI agent, or maybe
Hmm.
that part doesn't need to be automated. Because I think the other part that people forget is that AI and automations are there to release your time and release your brain space and release your energy so that you can take that time and that energy and put it back into the human aspect of your business.
Hmm.
And so it's not a matter of, let me figure out where I can completely eliminate humans in my business. It's where can I lean in heavier on the human aspect of what it is that I do and allow AI to take care of all of the other parts that don't allow me to do that.
Oh, I love that. And that's I think that's the part where it makes it a lot less scary because a lot of people think it's like, oh no, they're just coming in to take your job. And I'm like, it's not taking job. I always say that AI is taking responsibilities, maybe, where it's like, hey, you used to be responsible for this data entry of transferring it from the Google sheet to the Salesforce and then blah blah blah. It's like, no, that was a waste of your time anyways. And
Yeah.
honestly, AI does it better. Like
Yeah.
maybe you're, sick one day and you kind of missed that task, and then all of a sudden we're back. We missed a week of data, and now you're in trouble, and
Yeah.
it's not done still. So I think that's is that how do you argue it? Because I'm sure you get the whole like, well, AI is going to take all of our jobs. Like, what do you tell people when they say that?
So my response is, if you are the type of person who has been doing just enough to not get fired,
Mm,
there's a bot for that. And so you should be concerned, right? Um, but okay, this is my philosophy. If there's going to be an AI tool that does my job, I'm going to be the one to run it
mm,
because somebody's got to run it. Somebody's got to train it. Somebody's got to work with it. If you're building a model that's using an AI agent that answers questions, somebody's got to work with it in the event that for whatever reason or another it hallucinates, right? Like you can put in all of the fail safes and all of those different kinds of things. It's still AI. We're still not totally there. And so, somebody's got to be the expert in that thing. And so my standpoint in that is rather than being concerned about where AI is going to take my job, or AI is going to take your job, figure out where AI can make you more productive. You can bring more of the human aspect to your work, which can't be replaced by AI. And if there are AI tools that are coming on the market that are going to be able to do what you can do, a lot of these tools have their own certifications, they have their own trainings, they have their own, credentials. Go and get the credential in that tool. So now, if my company goes to get this tool, cool beans. I've got the credential. I'm the only one in the company who's got the credential to run it because I'm the one that went out and was actively looking for it. Somebody's got to run it. So and the thing about it is, you got to look at it this way. If I'm not the one that runs the tool, the company that sells the tool to the company that I work for is going to try to hold access to that tool
mm,
so that the company has to pay the outside consultant or the outside company to be able to run that tool. So rather than have you spend that money, I'm already on your payroll, right? I'm the expert in this tool, do the implementation, do all the things, and then I run it.
mm. I love that. Yeah,
So
so you get
yeah.
job security, and you also could take that to any other company that wants to use that tool and be like, hey, oh yeah, I've worked with this, I understand it, I'm an expert in it. And I think that's actually a really good point because people think of AI as just this like huge device that could do anything instead of what it really is, which is a new type of program that's run by independent companies trying to make money. And just like any SaaS company has always been, they want to keep their members. And how do you
Yeah.
do that? You get people to spend the time in training, use the tool consistently, and then develop those certifications so that's used properly and efficiently, which makes it effective and much more likely to stick. So no, that's a great approach. Now, with that said, what have you seen some companies that people should maybe check out and be like, hey, if I got certified in this, it would be helpful?
So I would say that it has to be industry, like if you are working a corporate job, it's industry specific. It now becomes your responsibility to, to look and see how AI is changing the way that your work is done.
Mm,
What I find a lot of is a lot of what you said is this pushback. It's like they're going to take my job and rah, 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 and we're angry and we're going to, and that doesn't solve the problem because at the end of the day, if they're going to find an AI solution, they're going to find the AI solution. So I think it becomes your responsibility to look specifically at your industry, look specifically at your job, and treat yourself like a consultant for the company that you work for.
mm,
If the company that I work for was to hire me to figure out how AI could better do my job, what tools would I recommend? What tools are on the market? What tools would best serve what it is that we do? and then go in and spend your own time and sometimes your own money, because, sometimes training budgets don't cover that, your own time and your own money, and go and learn those industry specific tools.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, for, let's just say somebody who's looking for a department to work in, do you think the AI processes lend itself the best to sales and marketing or HR or, operations? Like where does it fit the best?
It fits really well in sales and marketing. I think that's where most companies are looking at it, is in sales and marketing. It fits very well. It fits very well in human resources,
Oh.
because you can a lot of those things can be automated and it becomes cheaper for the companies. Now here's the thing. Because I'm an operations person, I'm a process person, it's very easy for me to see how well AI fits in operations. What I'm finding is a lot of companies want to have the conversation about how AI can support them in their operations, but they just don't know how to do it. And so what I would say is that if you work in operations, if you work in process, if you work in any of those areas, understand that that's an edge for you that you can have, because a lot of times it's easier for them to see how they can use it in sales and marketing. It's easier for them to see how they can use it in HR. It's not so easy for them to see how they can use it in operations. And if you're in that space and you can show them how, man, like you literally almost become indispensable.
Oh, I totally agree with that, because if you did have, say an underling and the manager's like, oh crap, like I know everybody's talking about this AI thing and I have no idea what they're talking about. And, Billy comes up and is like, hey, did you know we could, take our data sheet and we could process it 50 times faster just by doing this and this. Yeah, that person is instantly, I always tell people it's like with education, it's the person that tells you the information is now the educator, is now the expert. Even if they aren't an educator or an expert, they're still the person who told you something. So it's not that hard. And honestly, right now it's kind of the Wild West where it's like nobody really gets it for the most part. So if you're the one that's even trying and can show something, make a picture. That's an easy one. Like, hey, look, here's you in a mountain. That's all it takes. So I love your approach. I think it's super practical, easy to apply, and it could actually be a lot of fun. And I'd say, well, let's say this is a question I always wonder: how do you break people out of the cycle of the necessity they think is around their positions? And I'm not saying it's always secretaries, but a lot of times you find like the secretary that runs the company, and you're like, are you sure you run the company, or do you just think you run the company?
Man, okay. So I think it's getting people to really figure out the part of what they do that they love, that they really love. Because I think a lot of people have convinced themselves that they love certain parts of the work that they do because they've had to be so disciplined in learning how to do it. But if you really sit down with yourself, it's like, I mean, do I really like spreadsheets? I mean, I say I like spreadsheets, but I mean, really, no, I don't, right? Like my question is always, okay, if we take spreadsheets, for example, you say you love spreadsheets, right? Oh my gosh, you love spreadsheets. Oh yeah, I love spreadsheets. How do you behave when the spreadsheet doesn't work the way it's supposed to? How do you behave when the tool goes down? How do you behave when what you're creating is taking you a lot longer than it was supposed to create? Do you get angry? Do you get frustrated? Do you get irritated? Do you need to take multiple breaks? Do you need to go have an additional coffee break? Like, do you need to take a nap? Do you get a headache? Are you anxious because you're worried about deadlines? If that's happening, you don't really love that as much as you think you do. You just think that what you love, here's the thing, what you love is the result. And the result that you get from getting the result, whether it's the accolades that you get from your boss, whether it's just the personal satisfaction that I was able to get this done, that's the part that you love. So how can we get more of that and less of the other stuff that you really don't like? And if you allow yourself to implement these tools, you get more of that and less of the stuff that you really don't like. What does life look like for you now?
Oh, that's huge. Ah, I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah, it's well, and I love how you touched on the kind of the human psychology where it's like, yeah, if you're doing something miserable, but you could find anything that you like about it just to make your life more bearable, you'll do
yeah,
that. It's like a self-preservation, system that we have developed. But you have to take a step back, say, hey, do I actually love doing this? If I had all the time in the world, how much time would I spend doing this thing? Or are you just doing it for a job? And it's but I think most people find like, no. But some people may find like, hey, no, I love organizing data. I love finding the patterns and I love doing all this stuff. Great. Okay. Well, that's great. But you can still automate a lot of that. And then you can do even more fun development type stuff. The formulation, I love formulation. So I'm always like, and I do sort of love Excel. But it's that's the fun part. The crunching data. I'm always wrong about everything. So anytime I could find like statistics to be like, no, this is the right thing, I'll be like, yes. Okay, I was wrong again. That's good. Good to find out. Well, this has been a ton of fun. I really love your perspective. It's very positive and it helps people. It really will improve lives because, like you said, it's some of these tasks we do are just emotionally draining us and we don't realize it because it's just a necessity that we get them done. But if we could use AI to automate it, we could free ourselves to actually find something actually valuable to do. Where can people get help from you or find out about more about what you do?
yeah. So our website is at perfectflowfunnels.com. I am on Instagram at Perfect Flow Funnels, Facebook at Perfect Flow Funnels. TikTok is Perfect Flow Business Coaching. So that one is a little bit different. So you can find us there. And yeah, we do really cool events here in San Antonio. So check us out. Just go to Eventbrite, and if you search up AI in San Antonio, if you're ever here, we've got some live events coming up. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Well, I might have to check out one of those events. I've been meaning to like get back out there. Sometimes I just finished a book, so I go in
Okay,
my
okay.
hidey
Congratulations.
hole and I don't talk to anybody for a while. But I'm getting back into it, so we'll see you soon, and hopefully have you on some workshops and maybe coming up to speak in our event in March. I think this is perfect because I think it's a very practical approach, and you don't use the super technical jargon that scares people away. And it's like, I'm never going to figure this out. It's like, no.
Right.
What do you hate doing? And it's like, oh, I can tell you that. Well,
Really
thank you
easy.
so much. Tons
You.
of fun. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been the AI Branding Podcast, where we talk everything branding, marketing, content, and AI and processes today. So thank you for joining us. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe.